Welcome to another edition of More Steve. Welcome to another edition of Moore's World TV, family. I'm actually sharing this joy. You know how I start my show down. I start my show, we get straight to it. We're gonna get straight to it tonight, family. You know, since we did the can y'all hear me? Press 7 if you can hear me. Since we did the show um with my brother Melchesidek, you know, we have had a bum rush. Yeah, and I mean a bum rush of people um trying to chime in. And we gotta man, I'm good. Okay. And so we have a bum rush of people was trying to chime in. And so if y'all don't remember, we have had Sister Jamilla, who has been on the show quite a few times. She's a veteran, been on the show quite a few times. And she had mentioned this to me quite some time ago about explaining the esoteric meaning of Master Farad Muhammad, his existence, him coming into existence, his family, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think any other time is more appropriate than now than after our brother Melchesidek came on and people asked the question, is Master Farad Muhammad a quote unquote white man? So we're going to get into that. I'm trying to share it because I got to running behind a little bit as always, fam. But this is going to be a fantastic show. Take the time and share this and get it out to your people. We gonna listen. This is supposed to be something that we haven't heard before. Can y'all hear me? Press 7 if y'all can hear me. This is supposed to be something that we haven't heard before, or at least we're not used to. This what this is supposed to be. Now, I'm not gonna sit around and play around. I'm actually going to challenge some of these thoughts, if possible, if they need to be challenged. You know what I mean? If they need to be challenged. So I need to see some sevens. I need to see some sevens in the building. Let me hit the link and make sure I can hear myself. Let me see. Be something that oh yeah, I can hear myself. So yeah, I hear it. So fam, what I'm trying to do now, and I'm trying to share it because I didn't have a lot of time today. And I wanted to get this show in. I wanted to get it in. Melchesidek, he'll be back not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. You know what I mean? And I got another brother that I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna try to get him in this Sunday. You know what I mean? If he can make his schedule, because he has a bunch of information that, and then we're gonna swing it back around to our brother Melchesidek on the following Sunday. But man, this should be interesting. Y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Somebody say he's white. The original one got killed in prison. I want you to come on. Would you willing to come on and explain that? Sebastian, would you be willing to come on and explain that? That the original one got killed in prison? I would love to hear that story. I've never heard that story before. Never heard that story before. Would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. I invite you to come and tell that story. And do you believe that story? Not only is that an interesting story, but do you believe that story? And what evidence do you have? I mean, what's up, Joe Gilmore? Yeah, I'm very interested in that one. Like I'm interested in any story that is not let me share this one more time. Any story that is not the conventional story that we heard it all before and people get mad, want fight and talk crazy. I ain't interested in that. I'm interested in your story and you're able to defend it. That's what I'm interested in. There. I'll stand on it. I mean, so anyway, family, I hope y'all doing well tonight. I'm just sharing the link. I didn't have time to share it, so I'm gonna share it now. This is WD FARD Caucasian? Yes, it's a book written by Dr. Melchesidek York. What evidence do Dr. Melchesidek York put out, though? That's the thing. I respect the doc, but a lot of his books doesn't have, you can't cross-reference the evidence. What evidence does he have? That's what we need. That's what we need. We need the evidence. I mean, so if you read the book and he says it, and that's the only thing that you have, brother, we can't go with that. Not on Morris World TV, because I'm going to bring receipts. So I would love to I definitely would love to see that, without a doubt. So I'm just sharing the link, family. Y'all sharing? Are y'all sharing too? That's right. When you shadow band like this, you got to share this joint everywhere. You know what I mean? You got to share it everywhere. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's right. I'm about to share it on Instagram. Share it on your Instagram. That's what I'm about to do. This is gonna be interesting, family. And we ain't gonna be long, because Sis say, I mean, she gonna give me the maximum amount of time that she can allot to the family. So give me 1 second. Y'all ready? All right, here we go. Instagram. We live right now on Morris World TV. That's what I'm writing when I'm sharing. All right, family. That's enough. I hope that y'all share it. Listen, if y'all want shows like this, y'all gonna have to help me get these shows out. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna do what the people are interested in. I know people love my research shows. I already know that. But if you like interview shows, then we got to get this out. Look out, GS, bro. Oh, now we all right. You got my back, Thurman. You got my back. So anyway, family, let me pull this up real quick. So tonight's show is going to be a fantastic show, as always. Know for sure it's going to be a fantastic show, as always. So I want you to sit back, relax, as we get busy, family. So I'm gonna bring my guests in. Let's get it started. Ain't no read. I told you how it go. Sister Jamilla, how you doing, sis?
I'm good.
Tell people like right now, we do the intro in a minute. I want to get started, sis. You say
yes.
You say that there is a deeper meaning to the story of the coming of Master Farad Muhammad. Now, what I'm going to do first, right? I want to read a portion. I want to read a portion of the story.
Yes.
And I want you to take it from there, and then I'll come back behind you. All right.
Okay.
So let me get the first portion of the story, if I can, and share it with everybody. I want to share. Anybody familiar with the story? If y'all are familiar with the story, then just relax. For those who are not familiar with the story, I'm going to read you the story right now. All right. Now, let me get to my screen share. So here's the story of Master Farad Muhammad, the founder of the Nation of Islam. All right. Let's get with the story. Alfonso and Baby G, Master Farad Muhammad, and his parents. Myths should be understood as scientific knowledge written in symbolic language to convey and sometimes conceal. Now, this is not written by me. We'll talk about who wrote this in a minute. To conceal truths at many levels. Myths are truer than facts because they address historical, astrological, biological, social, psychological, and initiatory truths and process simultaneously. It is said when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. In other words, myths and symbols reveal themselves to the student, initiate, according to his or her level of preparedness. Nation of Islam history is replete with such myths, which have been taken as actual fact. According to the Nation of Islam mythology, Alfonso was a jet black man who was one of the 24 scientists who comprised the Godhead. He decided to make a son who would destroy America and save black people, quote unquote. His son would have to be able to sneak into America, so he had to have a near white complexion. The mother of such a child, for various reasons, had to be white. So Alfonso went into the hills and caves of Europe and married a white woman with the unusual name Baby G. Alfonso then cleaned her up by casting 7 devils out of her, thus making her fit to bear a child who would grow up to be God. Alfonso's first effort to father a child resulted in a girl. Alfonso remarked, I missed that time. Apology to my women readers. On the next occasion, old Alfonso hit his target and made a boy who named Wallace D. FARD and was born February 26, 1877 in the holy city of Mecca. In Sanskrit, Wallace means holy man, prophet. Wallace was then purchased the best books in the world and educated by the best teachers. All right. So there you have it. Now, I have a question. Let me start with my question real quick.
Okay.
You now, is this story, again, do you hold this story as actual fact, symbolic, esoteric, or what have you? How do you see the story? And then I'm gonna let you flow. I'm gonna ask you a few questions and let you flow. How do you see the story?
Okay. So this story is absolutely allegorical, metaphorical, symbolic. Absolutely. It is not actual fact.
Okay, got you. Now, let me ask you this. Who is the author of this story?
Okay. Who originally wrote it, or who wrote this piece that we're looking at right now?
Now, who originally authored the original story?
Okay, so when I came into the nation, we were given this story. Now, as far as who put pen to paper and wrote it, or I don't know that exact person, but this was part of the lessons that was received when I came into the Nation of Islam.
So is the story attached to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Is it attached to W.D. FARD himself? Has it ever been who? Like, I'm trying to.
I
So
understand.
it wasn't revealed who actually authored it, but it was taught in the mosque.
Well, let me say this. So since the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was taught by Master Fard Muhammad according to the teaching, this must have, because now we have to speculate, it must have came from Master Fard Muhammad, given to Elijah Muhammad for Elijah Muhammad to give it to everyone else. You understand? But we can't necessarily say, like, we were there, we heard Master Fard Muhammad say these things to Elijah Muhammad.
Oh, no. I'm just trying to get some clarification as to. Yeah. I'm only thing I'm trying to do is get some clarification as to who authored the story. Obviously, that if Elijah Muhammad authored the story, he could only get it from one place. I mean, we would have to leave it at that. You know what I mean? So now another thing I wanted to ask about that. Okay, let me get that out of the way. So, secondly, is did Elijah Muhammad or anybody in the mosque ever break down the esoteric essence of the story, or is this people came along later and broke it down?
So I can only speak for the time that I was in the nation, okay, under Farrakhan. To be more specific, obviously, I'm only 48 years old.
Right.
No, from the time I was in, and I was in for about 16 years, give or take, I've never heard the esoteric part, just the exoteric, which you just read.
Okay. All right. Have you ever heard anybody else break down the esoteric part? Or are
Never.
you breaking it down, or where do you get the esoteric part from? Is it
Okay.
yours? Are you the original breakdown, or you've seen somebody
No.
else?
No, so the person that, I mean, I guess I need to go ahead and say it now. This particular article, the person that wrote it is Amir Fatir. Some people know him, some people don't know him. Most people probably don't know him. Why don't they know him? Because he's been incarcerated for the last 47, well, as long as I've been born, actually, right? But most people from the old days, because he's like in his 70s now, they know him as Sterling Hobbs, the author of the book, The Black Angels. And The Black Angels was a book about an account, for the most part, a fictional account of the assassination of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so people in my generation, depending on who they have come into contact with, may or may not know. But I know that I haven't even heard that part as far as what Amir wrote in The Black Angels. I never even heard of the book The Black Angels until I met him. But apparently The Black Angels has been floating around. It was taken out of print. I actually republished it for Amir a couple of years back. So it is available on Amazon now through his website. And so it kind of started from there. And so he is the author of the piece that we're actually going to be, that is being referenced tonight.
Oh, okay. So is he a member of the NOI right now, or is he formerly a member?
Right. So Amir, he was mentored under Farrakhan in New York, in the early 70s, I believe. So he was a minister, a student, like a younger minister, under Farrakhan in New York when Farrakhan was in New York.
All right. So can you begin to break down and take it from the top? Thank you so much, Thurman Smart. Can you begin to break down the esoteric meaning? Because most people is of the idea that that the Master
Yeah.
Farad Muhammad is a European. Is
Right.
he a European of European descent?
Okay. So if I'm just going to answer that one question, is he? If we're looking at black, white, I'm going to say yes.
Okay, from a physical perspective, that's all we need.
Perspective, absolutely yes.
Okay. Now, what is, and I'm just trying to make sure that we set this up right so the people that are listening can understand, because sometimes we take for granted that everybody know these stories. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm trying to just set it up. So when you say there is a deeper meaning, esoteric meaning, hold up 1 second. Up here. When you say you're gonna break this down esoterically, and I haven't even read the thing yet because I like to do it organically. What do you bring to it from an esoteric perspective?
So the fact that we're talking about race, like we're still there as a people, like the world, for that matter, at least the Western world, is still dealing with black, white. And of course, it's important because living in America, that has been the social program. The word black for, the original people, and then white for the oppressor, or as Elijah Muhammad explained, the devil, right? And so that's where we're at, okay? And we're still there 40 some odd years later, okay? And so I don't think too many people, and I'm not ever going to say no one because I don't know everyone. I don't think a good enough amount of people has ever looked deeper into the origin, because the story is the foundation of the teachings. Okay. And so it's important, if you are rebuilding something, you got to start from scratch and parse the actual origin of the story of the person that brought this teaching. Okay. So I'm about to do that now. So,
all right.
So I took notes from Amir's article, and so I'm going to do the best I can because I have a whole lot of notes. But since we're talking about the question of Master Fard Muhammad's race, okay, I'll start from there. Okay, so let's start with his father Alfonso, because a lot of times when we're talking about Master Fard Muhammad, you know, usually it would be the brothers that would say, no, his father was black and the seed of the black man, and it is, so that makes him the original man. I believe that's what the brother, you know, had said on your show, that Master Fard Muhammad was an original man because his father was an original man. Well, I mean, genetically and biologically, we know that, or I don't know if we know, but I know that the child, and we're talking exoterically right now, and then I'll get into the esoteric part, okay? So biologically, the child carries the mitochondrial DNA of the mother, okay? And in this case, the mother is supposed to be Caucasian white, okay? Which means the child carries the mitochondrial DNA of the mother, which basically the mitochondrial DNA, if anyone didn't know, it determines the ancestry or the lineage, right? But it also determines like health and disease, okay? And so whatever the mother is, for the most part, if we're looking at genetics or whatever the case may be, then that is what the child is mostly of, okay? The lineage or the ancestry of the mitochondrial DNA, okay? And I can go further into it, but I don't think I really need to, okay? Oh, you with me?
Yeah, you keep going.
So let's get that straight, okay? So when it comes to what his color is or whatever, you can never determine, you know, like if a black man has a baby with a white woman or whatever, like the colors vary. It's not like, oh, it's definitely gonna be. That's why in the description, it says near white complexion. So we always want to say white, but it's near white. So Taharka, you're lighter than me. Okay. Somebody might say you look near white because you're lighter than me.
But when we say, let me say this, when we say that, I think I don't want to turn this into a soup. What exactly is white near white? What are we saying? Because you either have melanin or you don't. Let's be clear. Either you have melanin or you don't. And we get into the soupy words. We like near white and white. Like, is this person melanated or not?
Okay.
And how do we qualify that?
Right. And this is my point. Okay. So you're kind of going into my point. So it's a lot of ambiguity. A lot of this is ambiguous, right? So you got the semantics and the words or whatever, but we have the picture. So let's just start there. We have the picture. And according to the picture, he looked like a white man, straight up. Okay. So we're going to leave that right there. Okay. Right. So now let's go into what it says, because you can only go based off of what the story says. You can't.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. Did he really exist?
I don't know. I never seen him. I wasn't born.
No, I'm saying, but you was a member of the Nation of Islam. Of the thought that he actually exists and walked in Detroit?
I think he did exist.
All right, go ahead, carry on.
Yeah, and I say that because I don't think
most people that interpret a story from an esoteric perspective, many times they say, "Oh, it's just a story." And he never really exists. They do that with Jesus.
No, he could have existed. Like, I think he did.
No, I believe he did too. But I'm just asking. All right, but go ahead. Carry on. I'm sorry to cut your wisdom.
So what I looked at when I looked at the story is I looked at the fact that why was it so important to say Alfonso was jet black?
Right.
Like, if somebody is going to say, oh, I'm not going to say my father was jet black. I'm just going to say my father was a black man. You know what I'm saying? So why was it so important to say jet black? Okay. So now here's the esoteric part. Here's the meaning behind jet black. Okay. because once I go into the meaning of jet black, it kind of takes away the whole race card. And so we don't even need to focus on baby G and all that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So here we go. So when we say jet black, it's not necessarily talking about like a racial thing. And it's so hard to speak to people with a certain mindset because it's hard to get away from race because we've been socially programmed. But the term jet black is an old term, like it was used in like the 1800s with more like literature, okay? But in all actuality, the jet is like a stone. It's a black stone, okay? And I wore the stone. I have the obsidian stone, okay? So jet is a specific stone with certain characteristics. And so when we talk about jet, the term jet is more of the intensity of the color, which means that jet black would be like a deep, dark black color of a dense, semi-precious black stone. Okay, so here it goes. Here's the stone, okay, or one of the stones, okay? So basically it has nothing to do with like race. It never was about race when people back in the 1800s or even before that used that term jet black. It was never meant to be offensive or anything like that. Okay, so it's more like a descriptive phrase. And it's the origins is French and Latin. And there's just a lot of things about that term jet black that is absent from race. So there's more I could say, but it's a lot. But I think I said enough to make the determination, at least from my perspective, that jet black was not used to determine his race. It was used to determine what was to come as far as a characteristic in Master Fard Muhammad. Okay. And so if you see it in that way and you take away the race part of jet black, then everything after that that refers to a race is debunked. So that's my spiel.
Why is it necessary to debunk the race though?
It's necessary. No, I didn't say it's necessary.
So are you no. So are you saying that the jet black part is insignificant and is only significant as it relates to the essence of black or something? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it's not. What I'm saying is the jet black part has nothing to do with a race of a person, which we know as a race, like a black race. It has nothing to do with that. So if it has nothing to do with that, then baby G being quote unquote white has nothing to do with that either, which takes race off the table when we're having this conversation.
But when you're coming to save a people that is melanated people, that I don't think you can remove that off the table. Because this is why you can't move it off the table from my perspective. Whenever you look at the history where someone came to save a people, and we heard the story many a times, an Arab came to the Arabs, an Israelite came to the Israelites, the Cometians come to the Cometians, and we have an esoteric story to claim that a man that actually looks European came to save us.
Okay,
and so throughout history, it doesn't seem consistent. That's why I think race has to play a significant role when you're talking about redeeming a people, because throughout history, there always was one amongst their own.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? There was never some come from afar.
But in the story, it didn't say Master Fard Muhammad had that idea. It said his dad did. So his dad wanted to give birth to a male child to do his dad's work. So if you're looking at the actual story for what it is, and we're putting the race factor back in there, then in actuality, it was a black man that wanted to save black people because he sent his child. Regardless
that's what I want to get back to, because it seems like they are saying jet black for the purpose to save the people. And then in the story, it said he had to be near white in order to sneak in America to save quote unquote black people. So I think
I'm saying exoterically. We're dealing with two parts here. We're dealing with
exoterically, layers. He's a European.
It matters. Yes.
Yeah.
It matters.
Now, esoterically, it doesn't matter. is what
No,
you're saying.
exoterically, it doesn't matter.
But
Esoterically,
esoterically, it doesn't matter. That's what I say. That's what I meant to say.
exo with the X. Yeah.
Eso.
Yeah.
Yeah, esoterically, it doesn't matter. But exoterically, it he's a European.
No, I'm saying X, EX. It doesn't matter. It matters. Eso,
It don't matter.
if we're looking at it on the general exoterically piece that I told you was a lot, then
Right.
it would matter. It would matter because that's how we're programmed to look at it. But what matters is the esoteric part of it.
I get what you're saying, but I think both of it actually matters because of the people that is coming to be redeemed.
Okay. I can agree.
For the people that be redeemed, you know what I mean? I mean, in history, right? When you look at ancient Kemet, right? When you look at ancient Kemet, every what they would call a pharaoh came from amongst them. You know what I'm saying? It never was someone that came that was brewed all the way some far land away and then sent somebody to redeem the ancient Kemites.
Okay.
And that's what this story is sounding like.
I get that. But let me just go back. Okay?
No, I want you to continue to break down. So we got the Alfonso demonstration. What about the baby G?
All right, let me just say this part first.
But do what it's your floor. I ain't going to interrupt no more. I'm going to interrupt in about 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to bring something to the surface because we already established that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave this story. We already established that, right? And obviously he must have got it from Master Farad Muhammad. So it's important to think of the person that gave the story because it's important to know what was the purpose of him giving the story the way he did it. So I'm in the book Theology of Time, right? This was the last book that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in 1972, okay? And there's a period in there where he's talking about Abraham and Sarah, okay? And the issue of race does come up, okay? And so there was a question that was posed to him. Was Sarah a white woman? Because obviously, if you know anything about scripture, Sarah had a really significant part in scripture being Abraham's wife, correct? Do we know this? Because you have to have a good foundation to know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. So his response was, the messenger's response was, really, brother? I don't know whether she was white or black, but I believe Abraham had a great love for black and maybe he had a black wife. If Sarah was white or black, her husband was a great prophet in the time that we are now in, was revealed to him, and his prophecy mostly was on the base of us and our return to our own. I don't say that she was white and I don't say she was black because Arabs were ruling for a long time after our history was taken away as regarding Abraham. So I wanted to say that because that gives us an indication of, do it really matter? So let's put that aside. Let's put that aside so I can break down the rest.
It does matter, though. It does matter. To me, I think it does matter because if a Chinese person, right, with their phenotype, seeing somebody from Australia coming to them to redeem them from the problems that they suffer from the Chinese culture, from the Chinese history, and from the Chinese oppression, they will look at that Australian like he's crazy.
That's true. I agree with you.
So phenotype does matter. I mean, I don't think we should throw it. I mean, but I'm trying. I told you I'm gonna give you some feedback, but I really want to hear what you bringing. You're doing well so far. Keep it pushing. Let's go.
Okay, so let's agree that for the sake of this conversation, it does matter. Okay. We also need to know that it matters because the layer underneath of it is what we don't know, and so we can actually have both. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm with the esoteric. I'm with that. But I don't think we could minimize the exoteric too, because if he literally walked now, and if he didn't walk in Detroit, if he didn't walk into Chicago, then the exoteric, yeah, we could throw that out the window. But if he literally walked, then both of those matter because there's a reason everything happens. Nothing happens by chance in this universe. So there's a reason that he came looking, and Elijah gives you the reason of why he came looking, as Elijah would say, near white. But now the the esoteric part about baby G. I'm interested in hearing that part also.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Okay. And so when we talk about baby G, we're dealing with numbers. Okay. And so in the original lessons of the Supreme Wisdom, there is a science behind this baby G. And if you want to scroll down so the people could see it, Amir goes into it while they could look on as I'm talking, as I'm doing commentary.
Okay, let me pull it up. If I can find it here. Hold up. Okay. What page? Part 2? Decipher.
Just scroll. It's one page. Just scroll down.
No, it's 5 pages. Oh, hold on one second.
So, for you it's 5. It's 1 for me.
All right. Is it deciphering the nation code?
I think it starts there. Let me look at it real quick.
Oh yeah, I think that's what it is. It says Alphonse. Go ahead.
Okay, so if you go further down, it goes into it talks about, so he sought a white woman, quote unquote, to be his wife. And so in that, it's dealing with the yin and the yang on multiple levels. Okay. And so of course we're dealing with a polarity, right? We're in a world of polarity, and the yin and the yang deals with polarity. And even in this story, we're dealing with polarity. Alfonso being black, baby G being white. Okay. So there's wisdom in that. The next thing we want to take a look at is, why did he go? Well, then we dealing with the Kundalini, which is often symbolized as feminine. That's why she was a woman, right? So you have a male and then you have a female. Okay. So there's the symbolism with the Kundalini. If people aren't sure what the Kundalini is, it's just an energy that kind of circulates like the figure 8 in our body, but that's another thing. So let me keep going. And then why was it so important for him to go to the hills of Europe, or the caves, the hills and caves of Europe, which is the upper hills and depths? And so that's talking about subconscious. That's not talking about a specific place necessarily, because if you know anything about geography, where is the Caucasus Mountains actually located? It's actually located like near Russia, but it's between Europe and Asia. So even in a sense, the Caucasus doesn't necessarily have a specific part. It's like in the middle, in between, right? And so you can't necessarily place the Caucasus in Europe nor Asia, because it's actually in the middle. But then when you parse the word Europe, and I can parse this a little bit more, he just kind of gives an overview, because there has been some changes. But according to what he says, Europe is from Europa, which is concealing, and then the UR is about light. Okay. Good and then I'll go into that in 1 second. Okay. And then he found baby G. So then in our lessons, the letter, we talk about this in the Supreme Wisdom, but the letter G is the 7th letter of the English alphabet, which symbolizes the 7 chakras of the Kundalini. The baby is because the chakras are not yet developed to their fullest potential. And then when it talks about him casting out the devil, it's about purifying chakras. And when you do that, you purify the subconscious, and then that makes her fit to bear a child, which would eventually be considered a god in person. Okay. So that's the overview.
This a lot to unpack.
I know. That's my point. That's what I'm telling you. So let's go into the Supreme Wisdom when we talk about that number 7. Okay. And I'm sure the brothers and sisters in the nations of God and earth will be like, yep. Okay. So when we go into the numbers in our Supreme Wisdom, I'm just scrolling down because I don't want to make no mistakes. And now to be frank, we didn't get a lot of things when I came into the nation under Farrakhan. So I had to look for the raw teachings, okay, outside of the Supreme, outside of the nation when I came in. So we didn't get what a lot of the brothers and sisters in the nation of God's and earth had. So I didn't know about the numbers and what the numbers actually stood for until much later into my study. And so the number 7, the meaning is God. Okay. And so when you see that whole circle 7 and you see all those, you know that, right? Because that's from the Qurans too, right? That's in Moorish science. Isn't that correct? The 7 means God.
Yeah. Seven means completion.
Right. Okay.
But in supreme mathematics, born cipher, I think cipher, yeah, is basically completion. So it's a slightly different there.
Well, according to the supreme wisdom, because we're talking about the teachings of the nation. Okay.
Right, exactly. So it's it's a slight difference.
Right. But according to the supreme wisdom, 7 means God. Okay. And so taking you back to the G, which is 7, and the objective was for her to give birth to a God. So, and a lot of these teachings, you have to unpack piece by piece. You can't just overall say, it's this, that, and so that equals that, because there's a lot of layers to a lot of things. And if we're
but
dealing
7 means God, though. You right, you good. Okay. But I got you. But the thing is that, so you saying that baby G, being a European Caucasian woman, is going to bring forth God, or she is God? The G stands for her God, or the God she going to bring forth?
Right. It's all about the result. It's not about the person, because even if we just look at, just talk candidly as parents, right? Let's talk on that level. So when we talk about parents, the mother and the father, okay, the objective of the offspring is to be a level above ourselves. And so we give the children what we have of greatness or good. And then obviously the child goes into, experiencing their own experiences. And then the result is a specific package. But you have to have a certain ingredient in order to produce that. Okay. And so the fact that that we were told that she was white is not necessarily goes into the behavior, but more of what the physical looks like, because we've been in the age of Pisces. We've been on that physical. So the child had to look a certain way in order to do the father's work. That's my point.
Hey, sister, do you think that we be massaging our mind with these stories to accept these stories? Because some of these stories, sister, they just bizarre. It's bizarre. Well, I mean, I got to be honest, sis. It seems like that in order for the mind, like, okay. So listen, if a person goes to prison, right, and they got a whole bunch of time, right, and I'm not speaking about the brother, but consequently, he's in prison, got a whole bunch of time. One thing that brothers in prison do is they have this hope, and the hope is I'm going back to court. This hope is I'm gonna give this time back. The hope is I'm gonna overturn this, and that hope is what keeps them sane. And it's the same thing seems to be happening with religion. That although it don't really add up, the 1 and 1 don't make 2. It appears that people want to have hope, and so they begin to pull back and make connections and all of these things so they can still have hope that is legitimate. But when you really look at it, let's look at it from the exoteric perspective. From the exoteric perspective, it's a guy named Alfonso. It's a guy named Alfonso in Mecca in the 1800s. Sis.
Exactly.
And it's supposed to be a real person. Not only is a guy named Alfonso that's supposed to be a real, we ain't in the esoteric. Let's go back to the planet Earth. Straight exoteric. It's a guy named Alfonso in Saudi Arabia in the 1800s. Then the guy named Alfonso get a bright idea. I'm going to mate with a Caucasian woman so I can save the poor little Negroes
all the way over in Detroit,
all the way in the United States of America.
Absolutely.
And in order to do that,
I'm
going to take a trip to the Caucasus Mountains.
That part.
In between Russia
You go ahead. I'm listening.
I'm gonna walk, ride a camel. I'm going to get there. And I'm going to sort out all of these Caucasian women until I find the proper one. Then I'm going to cast out the devils. Then I'm going to have sex with her.
That part.
Then I'm going to produce a baby, and I'm going to name the baby Wallace. Not only Wallace FARD. Now, come on. We live in the real world.
So
let's make it make sense.
Okay.
Let's make it make sense. Now, do you know your story would be so much better if he never walked in the United States? Because when you deal with an esoteric story, our ancestors taught like that. We know that. They taught in similes. They taught in allegories. We know that. But when you have the literal feet on the ground, and that don't really make, it really doesn't seem practical or logical.
Well, here's the thing.
And so now people want to make people want to supersede the esoteric so they don't have to be accountable.
Deal with the exo. Right. Okay. And I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, because when I saw that story, I'm like, this, okay. And I'm looking at it the same way. Okay.
Let me say this, sis. This is not for you. Shank Rock says, all I know is no other man in America has done for us what Elijah Muhammad teachings have done. I would debate that.
Yeah.
I would debate that. I would debate that. I think people are caught up in the commercialization and the imagery of what they feel was successful. I would debate that. I would debate that with any Nation of Islam scholar.
Okay.
Any Nation of Islam scholar, because there's a difference between success and the appearance of success.
Right. So I gotta cook. I'm full. Let's go back to the story, the myth. Okay. It is a myth. Okay. Now, one could say that there never was a Master Farad Muhammad. One could say that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was around a couple of people and he just said, you know what, instead of it saying that this is coming from me because I'm not so knowledgeable or people think I'm illiterate, I'm going to just use this person and say this person came up with all this. It could be anything. It could be anything. But I think we spend so much time on the anything, not saying that the anything is not important, but when you rise above the exoteric stuff, you understand that it has nothing to do with that, even if it looks like it's a contradiction of the whole ideology, because it's perception. It's how far you have grown to understand that sometimes things are put out. So it's just like this. A person been in jail. Okay. A person went to jail, you know, heinous crime or whatever. The person comes out and says that they're reformed. Now, most people are like, no, you're not reformed. But sometimes wisdom comes in different packages, and the packages are not things that we want to accept them to be. So what? Okay, he a white man. I know plenty of white people that got wisdom. I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the whole thing is that if that's the case, just say it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But it appears to be that there's been a concentrated effort to avoid the saying that this is a European.
And I'm gonna tell you why, and you know why. Because the ideology is what? The white man is the devil. So the conversation is, how can Elijah Muhammad teach that the white man is the devil when he met with a white man, called the white man God? How could God be white? It's the same thinking.
But let me tell you, the weird thing about it is that Farrakhan tried to say that his father was a lighter, a super light-skinned guy with straight hair. He used the same. Farrakhan used the same thing though, In an interview, I probably got to dig it up real quick. In an interview in 1996, Farrakhan says that his father was a lighter skinned man. Sound like the same story, right? And he has straight hair. And in the same interview, he said he believes that his father was of the Jewish persuasion. He was talking about a European Jew.
Right. So basically what he said, he didn't necessarily, the one I read, the article that I read, he didn't, in that particular article, he didn't give a color to it. He said he was a Portuguese Sephardic Jew.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, again, does it
No, he said close to white, but he don't say white.
I didn't read that part. I just read. Let me
pull it up for you.
Okay, I just read.
Keep talking.
I just read that he said his father was a Portuguese Sephardic Jew.
Right.
Okay, so whatever that is, whatever it may be. But the point here is, this is where we're still at. We're still trying to determine if Master Fard Muhammad was Caucasian. And if you're looking at the mother, and I just broke down the science of the mitochondrial DNA, which determines the lineage and the ancestry. If we want to say baby G was white, then absolutely the baby that she had was white, and the father was black. So I would say that the man is biracial, if anything, because that's what we say we call him biracial. So neither white nor black. Biracial. So where we at now with that conversation?
Well, the founder would have to determine that. The founder gave the story. The founder, Elijah Muhammad, gave the story. And if the founder didn't give the story, then we got to go by what the guy said himself. Now, when we get to the documentation of Farad getting locked up in Detroit, he claims to be 1 minute he claims to be white, 1 minute he claims to be Arabian.
Right. Arabian is not a color, though. That's the point.
But the point that I'm making is 1 minute but white ain't either, though. To get to the nitty gritty, white ain't either. But the point is, he claims this identity. So for us to try to say no, he's mixed. He claims European because white would equate to European in those days.
Right. So again, if we have the proof that he himself on one area checked white, the color, Arab, the nationality, then I'm saying he called himself a white Arab. That's what I'm saying.
And that's what he said. Okay. And that will be how he would identify. And for us to try to remix it, then now we're trying to make it suit our purpose. That's all I'm saying.
But my thing is, why?
I'm saying that throughout history.
I know. And I know this. And I've had these conversations with people in the past. I'm saying we got the evidence where the documents where he checked white or where he checked Arab or whatever. So if it came from him, then let it be that. We don't need to try to make everything fit into a box just because the ideology, or really Malcolm made it really popular about the white man being the devil, because even though it's always been in the teachings, the nation, to be honest, wasn't really popular, like popping until Malcolm.
You know what? You just said something that really is official. When the guys say that no group has effect changed in our community like the Nation of Islam, and that's what people don't understand. Is that when people look at the economic program of the Nation of Islam, it had a short life. The life was about maybe Malcolm didn't even get the benefit from the economic program. That was towards the end. That was that was like 68 to 70, 73, and then it began to collapse. It only began to rise.
Well, no. It was because Malcolm,
I'm talking about big. I'm talking about enterprise. I'm not talking about little corner stores. I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the fisheries. I'm talking about that. That was short-lived, very short-lived.
It was. And even during that time, it was because the white America sensationalized it. But if you really want to know the truth, Not for real, for real. And it was something that Black people at that time, see, it's kind of like this. When we think about like Black Wall Street and all those places, we get excited because right now, Black people for the most part is broke collectively as far as like not owning anything and things of that nature. So to hear about, wow, you know, they had a school, they had a hospital, a bank, that's great. But you got to look in that. What was actually going on in that? I know that's another topic, but my point is it was sensationalized.
And let me say this. Why is it that they created a picture, and even why did they create a picture outside of the original picture of who FARD was? Why did they do that? Because the picture that they see holding the book is not FARD. It's not FARD. That's a later creation and adaptation that was painted by, I think, Elijah Muhammad's son. That's not a real picture.
Then they say Jesus, the grandson.
Oh, the grandson. Because when you look at the actual picture of FARD Muhammad, that's the real picture right there. You see what I'm saying?
He look Armenian to me.
Yeah, he's a European. It is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you look at
both pictures look European.
So, yeah, both of them look European, but the thing is, they even cleaned him up to even straighten his hair a little bit more to look even more European to me. They should have left him like he was.
Yeah,
but that ain't a real picture or a real depiction of FARD. And people be holding this image high like it's FARD holding this book. That's not him. That's a depiction of him. You follow what I'm saying? So why was it so necessary? It seems to me, and this is just me, that we had such love for the slaveholder that it seems like the imagery that we would accept had to look like the image that we accept in Jesus. I'm just saying. I know people will get mad at me because, and that's what it seems to me.
It could be. And I think, and this is just me personally, Elijah Muhammad don't look like a whole Black man. He look Japanese.
Oh, you better stop it now. You better stop it. Come on, Cat. Come on.
I'm just saying. So what's this really about?
I gotta take a drink. Come on, Cat. No.
Listen, he don't look like a Marcus Garvey.
No, you know what? He actually looks like he's
he look Japanese to me.
He look like he's from the Eastern persuasion. He look like he's from the Far East persuason.
And so do his parents.
Yeah, his parents do too.
Okay.
Come on, Cat. Come on, Cat.
Cat, what are we really talking about?
Cat, you can't say that.
Okay. So what we're really talking about, Taharka, you're right. We're talking about some ego stuff, and we're talking about stuff that's just don't even really matter, because I really think it's doing a disservice to what the teaching is really about. The teaching is about accepting your own and being yourself, whatever that might be. You understand what I'm saying? So that just doesn't that saying is not just necessarily for Black people. That's for anybody in the human family. Accept your own and be yourself.
Well, I think today, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I think today is the day that, this day that we living in now, we got the internet, you know what I mean? And people love to do research, and I'm glad that I do research to try to figure out what's going on.
Right.
And I think we in the day where people want to know, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, if we would have this conversation, you would have the FOI knocking on our door. You would. Probably. In the 60s? No, ain't no probably in the 60s.
Oh, in the 60s, absolutely. Definitely.
In the 60s and the 70s, you be mincemeat. You be mincemeat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I think everybody wants the truth, and we don't like to accept the truth, but it's to your point of this right here. It does look like Elijah could be
Japanese.
It really do. It really do. He doesn't look like a full FBA, as they like to say.
Right. What we call but our problem is we always want to try to put a race on somebody. You don't know what people are just because people got a certain complexion, and this is the problem. It's a colorism. It's really a remnant of racism. You understand?
But this is the world that we live in, and
Yes.
when you're dealing with spirituality, right? One thing
Mhm.
for sure and two things for certain. I said it earlier and I say it again, that when teachers and leaders rise up to awaken people, they rise up amongst the people. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
normally, if we're gonna keep it a whole stack, normally those people are right in the muck and in the mire and have the genetic experience, or they got it running through their veins. They got the
Yeah.
slavery in their veins, they got the culture in their veins, they got everything running in their veins, and they become unfolded to the point where they can address it, where they can address the issues. But to send somebody from a far land
Right.
to raise up one here, it doesn't make sense with history. It just
I
doesn't
agree.
line up. It doesn't line up.
That's
Now,
why it's not that. And that's just what that is. It ain't that. It ain't that. It was given, but it ain't that.
so when I was younger, let's have this conversation. If you want to cut in. When I was younger, it was like a big secret that the Nation of Islam had associations with the Moorish Science Temple of America in their foundings. When I was younger, when I was 18 years old, they would say, and it was all over the papers, it was all over writings, that the Nation of Islam was the first to teach Islam in America.
Yeah,
Then when
that's
I
not
was younger, you know what I
right.
mean? And we used to be like, huh? We used to always look at that lesson, founded in 1913. But because the nation was so popular, it was so loud, and the Moors was so silent that was the running thought. But now today, we say, hold up, that's a contradiction. That's a contradiction. So now, if we look at it now, do you think that we need to revisit everything?
Well, yeah. Why? Because again, we've been fed so many lies. You know what I'm saying? And so now we're at a time where all the information is going to be on the table. The truth will always prevail at some point, whether you're here now or later. But the bottom line is, yeah, we need to go back and we need to look at that relationship, because that relationship obviously had a huge influence on what we knew the nation, or, at the time of Elijah Muhammad. I don't want to talk about what it is now, but at the time of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it was completely Masonic. It was completely occultish. It was filled with all that stuff.
Do you think it would have made a difference if he would have just said that this is a quote unquote white man, or this is a man that is of Caucasian persuasion? Do you think it would have made a difference? Because at the end of the day, Elijah Muhammad was gun ho about pushing the ideology. He wasn't letting up. Do you think it would have made a difference?
I think it would have made a difference if he specifically set out his mouth, this is a white man. Yeah, it would have. And he knew, of course he knew, ain't nobody slow.
But the weird thing about it is, he looks, even, let's say if he wasn't, because we got people in our family, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure many people on this show got people in our family that has been tainted from the institution of slavery, where they're super light, almost near what they call white European. But when you look at them closely, you can see the physical structure, the bone structure. Even though they may be super light, you can still see the fullness of the lips or the nose, or certain characteristics that just come with us. But when you look at somebody say he wasn't a white man. When you look at Farad Muhammad, he doesn't have any of those characteristics. None.
Okay.
None. Let's do this. So you broke down the baby G number. Is there any other esoteric that we can decipher?
So that's all we have for baby G. I went into where she was, Caucasus Mountains, which again is not necessarily in Europe. It's between Europe and Asia. So, okay. So we went on that. We also went into the fact that the name Baby G was completely esoteric, because if she was a white woman, why didn't her name be Anna or Sarah or something like that? Why she had Baby G? Come on. It doesn't make sense for the name to be Baby G without looking deeper into it. That's not a name, Baby G. That's not a name. And then if you look at it, it really don't make sense, because now we put in some negative connotation on it, because Alfonso was a whole man, like a whole big man. So he dealing with a baby now? Like, what are we really talking about? Like, come on, let's stop. Like, and then the brother said something like she was 16. Now, I never heard that. I never heard it.
And you know, that's the first time I heard that too. I
never heard that. Okay, all I'm saying is, do we even hear what we're saying right now? Alfonso, grown man, you impregnating a little girl? Like, what we talking about? And that's the last thing anybody need to say, because obviously the nation had that scandal with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So why would we even put that on that conversation? See, we're not even thinking. We're not even thinking. We're perpetuating the same stuff, and we don't even realize that we're perpetuating the same stuff.
And let me say this. The funny, sis, and listen to my brothers of the Nation of Islam. I'm just a seeker of truth, and I'll accept anything that you. I'll accept anything to me that you throw about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I'll have a discussion with you. I don't care what you throw at me. You can throw anything you ever heard about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and it doesn't make a difference. I'm ready to have the conversation. So don't take this the wrong way. But one of the things that is really strange to me is that when we look at Master Farad Muhammad, and we have this conversation about him being of European persuasion, and he's as the European phenotype, if you will. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you look at the lessons of the NOI, and it says, we, the tribe of Shabazz, says Allah, God, or the first to discover the best part of the planet to live on, the rich Nile Valley of Egypt and the present seat of the holy city of Mecca, Arabia. The origin of our kinky hair, says Allah, came from the dissatisfied scientists 50,000 years ago who wanted to make all of us tough and hard to endure the life of the jungles of East Asia, Africa, and to overcome the beasts there. But he failed to get others to agree with him. So in the teachings, the kinky hair appears to be some type of modification that wasn't original, and the European hair is the original. And now when you see like, you talk about racism, like that's a teaching. That's an actual teaching there.
Yeah, I hear that.
How do we swallow that?
So this is what I'm going to say from that, okay? So yes, I agree with you. There was some type of modification, okay? Like a genetic modification, okay? Not necessarily saying that like we associate straight hair with white people, because again, that's the program, okay? Again, all people got different kind of hair, but I see that says kinky specifically, okay? There are black people that do not have kinky hair.
Oh, no. But hold up. This is my point. The reason kinky hair exists is because geographical location, not because a curse to send somebody in a jungle. Right. I mean, it's for geographical location. If you're closer to the equator and the sun is beating on your head, nature will provide protection. If you, it's to protect you. That the kinky hair protects you from the rays of the sun to the top of your head.
So now you have to explain all the people in Southeast Asia that don't have kinky hair.
They're not closer to the equator as those that are closer to the equator.
I'm talking about the sun part.
The further you move away, the hair begins to relax. This is why you have what they call the Native American with black silky hair. This is why you got the people in East Asia with the further you get away, the hair relaxes. And then the European up into the colder climate, not only does it relax, it also mutates into a lighter color. It goes from black to brown to red to blonde. We're talking away, and so this is called natural selection at its best. This is not a curse. It's natural selection. A polar bear turns white because it's so, and then we start using the European timeline. We got to get away from the European timeline because a polar bear ain't nothing but a brown bear who has been moved from one habitat into another habitat. The red fox turns into the white fox. And this is natural selection. And so the whole thing I'm saying is to say that 50,000 years ago, a scientist said they wanted to make us tough. And so they modified straight hair into kinky. That doesn't even.
Well, listen here. I know that the majority of people only see color. This is what we're dealing with. You've mentioned like all different kind of colors, okay? We're not made up of colors. We're made up of genetics, biology, cells.
That's what I just explained. I just explained natural selection.
Right, I'm with you. The way it's given is like a child's fairy tale. Because apparently that was the level the people were on. Apparently, if you can't give it to the people like the way we're talking about it now, and you giving it to them in fairy tales. So when a child is young, in order for them to understand like Aesop's fables, in order for them to understand like, you know, things like the boy who cried wolf, you give them a story. All this does is sound like a bunch of stories, but you got to dig to decode. And that's what we have never done, is decode these stories. We take everything literal. And you're right. If you look at it on the exterior, it doesn't even make sense.
But the dissatisfied scientists, like the dissatisfied scientists make people
that sound like a character, a dissatisfied scientist. That sounds like a character. These are children's stories. So what is, as we grow, our job is to decode.
But even when we look at this children's story, we fall on the side of the cursed. Why we got to fall on the side of the curse of the children's story coming from God?
Because that's what we was taught.
No. We got somebody coming to us. We're falling on the side of the cursed. Mm-hmm. Give me a story where I don't fall on the side of the cursed. My hair is kinky because of dissatisfied scientists.
That part, yeah.
Why do the story coming from God? I have to fall on the side of the curse. That's all I'm saying. That's a rhetorical question.
Right. And the thing about it is, when I looked at those stories, okay, I'm saying, and that's just me, I'm like, now it got to be something more to it, because not everybody, I didn't look at the teachings the way that a lot of people might have looked at it, because these were stories, these are fairy tales. And I know growing up.
I was saying you're doing good with that. You know what I mean? But the side part about that, when you start talking about that, Farad Muhammad walked in Detroit and walked in Chicago, then we got to deal with the reality like, okay, this was a real person. This was a real person with a European phenotype, and they're trying to pass him off as an Arab. They're trying to pass him off like a mixed guy, but he has a European phenotype. And my thing is,
because they're trying
I think the contradiction is what you said earlier. To call the white man the devil, and then even if he wasn't, the phenotype is a reflection of who you call the devil.
Right. Well, the thing, but again, I know white people. I know white people. And I used to talk to them about being the devil. And guess what their answer was? You're right, because all the evidence points to white people being devils, and they themselves were white.
Oh my God. Come on, Cat.
Now remember, the teachings came from a white man. So why would a white man teach a Japanese looking man that the white man is a devil?
Come on, Cat. Come on, Cat.
Come on. Like we gotta critically think. So that means
let's keep it a whole buck. Let's keep it a whole buck.
It was for a greater purpose.
Let's keep it a whole buck. Yes, Europeans contributed to a lot of what we suffer today.
Yes.
But let me tell you something. Our people contribute to
a whole lot and still contributed to
it. And Europeans could not do nothing.
Hold on, they're about to call me Candace Owens. Don't make me go there about the self-accountability.
Europeans could not do nothing without being complicit, our people being complicit and compliant.
That's it.
They could not do nothing. And even to end chattel slavery, Europeans had to be a part of that demise of that system. In other words, the people needed a place to hide. The people needed a place to eat. Have you ever drove from anybody ever drove from down south, Florida, Atlanta, Alabama, all the way up to Maryland or New York? Or any ever drive that?
I've driven from Texas to Philadelphia. So yeah.
Okay, so you know what a long drive is.
I do.
Every time I drive that drive, I think about a Harriet Tubman and I think about runaway slaves. And people think that these slaves was out in there eating berries and out there eating vegetation. No, there was people there to assist them. And so when we say the white man's the devil, I get what you're saying. However, the same devil that you're saying is the devil is going to play a role in trying to assist to get up out of this condition. That don't make sense. Now, at the end of the day, of course, they have a track record of oppression. Of course, they have conquered the planet without a doubt of contradiction. But at the same time, you know good and well that the European that would see you laying on the side of the road and say, how can I help you? You're not going to reject that and say the white man is the devil. Ain't nobody going to do that.
Okay,
help me up and get me to the ambulance.
Let me say this. Systematically, yes. Okay. That is where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was coming from. A system, systematically, overall, historically. You understand what I'm saying? So, like you said, if I'm down and out and a white person come to me and say, can I assist you? Sure. I'm not going to say, no, because you're white and you're the devil. Like, don't make sense.
But I think the whole teaching is a contradiction to a degree, because when you understand the teachings of how the devil or the European came about, the devil came out of us.
Okay, there we go.
The devil came out of us. So if the devil came out of us,
right? Okay.
According to the philosophy that they're playing with the big head scientists playing with these genes.
Yes.
I mean,
it's genetic splicing.
He's demonstrating natural selection.
Absolutely.
Until you get to a European. But this was originally us. So who is the devil?
Okay, that part. So now listen, let's stop it right there, because we go back to when
Sis cooking tonight. Y'all better put that thumbs up. We cooking around here tonight.
We go back to when the phrase "the white man is the devil" became popular. Okay, so let's take it before that. Right. Before that, Elijah Muhammad was teaching a select few of people. Okay, right. He wasn't out here with cameras all up in his mouth. He wasn't click. He wasn't doing none of that. He was with his select few of people that wanted to hear something different, right? It wasn't until the guy we call Malcolm X stepped on the scene, and here go all the cameras and how all the media sensationalize it, and they're extracting everything he said, and they're taking out the phrase, the white man is the devil. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to be careful, because what we do is, I don't personally think Elijah Muhammad wanted it to get to where it got when the whole Malcolm thing happened. You understand? Because he was low key since the 30s. So I feel like if his idea was to bring it to the media and bring it out like that, he had an opportunity to do it. He had a lot of people in different places, in high places, and he had the opportunity to do that. Okay, but it wasn't until Malcolm came on the scene, and then the climate of society where the white man is the devil became.
Hold up, sis. I got to be the angel's advocate.
Go ahead.
There was never a charismatic guy like Malcolm before Malcolm. Elijah Muhammad wasn't even charismatic like Malcolm.
We knew.
there was not a no, that there was not. If there was, we would know, because we would hear tapes. We would hear Elijah Muhammad was the primary teacher, as far as we know, because we heard him even before Malcolm. You can hear it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can see it everywhere. There was no charismatic speaker before or after Malcolm. Farrakhan scratches the surface, but he ain't no Malcolm.
He ain't no Malcolm. You
right. You know
what I
mean? And Elijah Muhammad, come on, with all due respect, Elijah Muhammad, the organization did not grow until Malcolm joined. Just like you say. In fact, people think because they was around since the 30s that it was always a large group. They was not a large group. From from the time that Malcolm joined, they went from 400 people to almost 200,000.
That's the fact. That's the truth.
But and if you look in history, there is not a name, there is not a person that you can associate with charisma like Malcolm. Not one. And I'm not saying they didn't exist, but we haven't seen it. We haven't heard it. There's no book. There is no writing. There's nothing.
And again, fine. That's all good. And that is true. If you're here for charisma, and if you're here for that, and the work too, 80% of the temples, yeah, great worker. That's what he did. That was the drive. Absolutely. Okay. It doesn't take anything away from anyone, because Malcolm was part of the NOI. He was taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So Elijah Muhammad didn't have to be a Malcolm. Elijah Muhammad was Elijah Muhammad. He was who he was, and Malcolm was who he was. So I just don't understand why people do the comparison, because there really ain't no comparison.
No. The comparison is this. The comparison is this, that many people would believe that the Nation of Islam was always a thriving organization from the 30s, but it had an explosion with Malcolm. That doesn't take away from Elijah Muhammad.
Malcolm had other ministers too, though. There was other ministers, but he was the spokesperson, so we saw him more, obviously, because he had the cameras in his face.
Go find all the other ministers. Ain't nobody touching Malcolm when you sit them in front of them Europeans in them colleges. Nobody. That man was bad on his feet.
I agree with you.
Nothing at Malcolm. He couldn't come back with you.
I agree with you. I'm saying, okay, let me just say this. Malcolm is who we saw, because he was the national rep or the spokesperson. He had a position.
I got to defend Malcolm. I can't stand when people try to minimize Malcolm. He had to be the spokesman because he was the Jordan. He was the Jordan of the NOI. Why wouldn't he be on the court?
I agree with you.
He got to be on the. You can't put Jordan on the bench. You ain't going to the championship.
They have, but that's another conversation.
Only to heal his knee.
I'm with you though. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. But I am saying Malcolm could not have opened all them temples without the other people as well.
Oh, so absolutely. You gotta have workers in concert with you. Absolutely. You gotta have a team. You gotta have the team. But let me say this, sis. What made you leave the Nation of Islam, or did you leave the Nation of Islam? Or did you leave, or you're with the Nation of Islam teachings under Elijah Muhammad, or what's your status with that?
Right. So no, I did not leave the Nation of Islam under Louis Farrakhan. Okay. I was actually pretty happy there as far as the work, because that's the only reason why I am a part of anything, because I like to work. I mean, when I was on here last time, that's what I was doing, working, right? I like to work. Not so much the ideology, because again, I grew up listening to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we didn't start listening to Farrakhan till, much later. But the idea was that Farrakhan was, teaching what Elijah Muhammad was teaching. And so at a certain point, I kind of knew that things have changed, but at that point, it was my life. And so I stopped being part of the nation like most people, or under Farrakhan, like most people, there's discourse within, the local mosque. So it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the teaching, because I still hold true to the teaching. I mean, that's my foundation. So anything I do comes out of that, but I am progressive enough to know to study other things, because everything's been so fragmented. And so I'm not the one to get up here and say, no, it was just the nation, just the nation. I'm not that person. I'm the person to say there's wisdom in everything. There's wisdom in every ideology, every thought, everything, every people. And that's what I'm about. And that's what I'm talking about with Fitra. That is what it is. It is it's everything encompassed into one. And I think when I'm reading the Theology of Time, that is actually what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was trying to get the people to understand, that Islam being the nature of God. He didn't call it Fitra at the time. He called it Islam. But if you go into the Holy Quran 30:30, it talks about the natural or the nature of a people. Okay. And so he said that Islam is not a religion. It's, what we say, we kind of water it down and say it's the way of life. But in all actuality, it deals with the essence. It's so much more deeper than what we see now. And that's what I'm focused on now. And it's called Fitra. And that's actually in the Quran, Fitra.
Oh, sis. Oh, come on, Cat. So you don't move on the organized effort of NOI in this day.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Okay,
absolutely not.
They're gonna be mad at you. That's just the NOI.
They've been mad at me, but it's okay though. And the reason why it's okay, because even I focus on the Theology of Time. And the reason why I am dissecting this book in particular, number one, it was the last thing that Elijah Muhammad, I call him Pops, but that's the last thing that Elijah Muhammad left with us. Okay. Theology of Time. And so that book defines the growth. Okay, so when I just read you the excerpt about Sarah and him saying, I don't know whether she was black or white. Like, really, brother? Like, you really asking me that question? That shows something. Okay. And when I read these kind of things, it gives you insight into the thought of the man. His point wasn't about whether she was black or white. The point was what he was given about Sarah and her work. You understand? And so I focus on the Theology of Time. A lot of people like to look at Message to the Black Man, which was his old stuff from like the 30s and the 40s. You know what I'm saying? But Theology of Time was in 72. So there was a progression. And I really think we got to cut it out with being backwards, because Farrakhan literally took everybody 40 years backwards. Like, he took everybody back. And we all start.
Oh, come on, Cat.
And all the fresh wombs are opening up. And this is why we still talking about if Farad Muhammad was black or white. This is why we still talking about it, because Farrakhan in his rebuilding opened up old wounds. Like, bro, we should be past that. Like, we should be reading.
The thing is, though, sis, you cannot get past something like that, because that is the foundation. Like that was a part of the foundation of building of the Nation of Islam. The stories and the similes. That's just a part of it. So it doesn't no matter who pops up. They always gonna go back to. Hold up.
No, but you go back to it, but you don't look at it the same. I'm talking about starting with the decoding. So of course you have to, because that's the foundation of it. So I agree with you, but I'm saying if Farrakhan been in this work for so long, like,
yeah, I understand he should have elevated it, and I understand what you're saying. But then if he did that, it's going to be a group of people saying he's trying to run from the original story of Farad Muhammad being produced by Jet Black Man and Baby G.
No, that's not. No, they're doing that now because he done put some other stuff in. Okay.
Oh, so come on, Kat. What you got against Farrakhan? Come on, Kat.
I got nothing against Farrakhan. We from Boston. You know what I mean? We both from Boston. I actually grew up with his family, the Walcott. So, I don't have anything.
Oh, come on now. Hey, look, I want to say this. Let me ask you a question, because they always say this, and I'm doing this on purpose. Is this, they don't consider this Farad Muhammad, right? Did you know that?
Right.
They don't consider this Farad Muhammad.
I know.
I can prove that that's him. Can you find somebody to debate me?
Yeah. Can I find somebody to debate that proves that it's not him?
No, I can prove that that's Farad Muhammad.
Yeah, I think it's him too.
That's him.
They know it's him. They know it's him. They know it's him. Elijah Muhammad, I think, and this is me personally, Jamilla, I think Elijah Muhammad was just protecting him when he said that wasn't him. I know that's more than likely him. That's that man.
The reason why that we're gonna have to accept the reason why we're gonna have to accept that it's him, because Elijah Muhammad got locked up with him.
That part. That's him.
And the pictures in the police report the same day.
Amen. I know. I seen them. But they go based on when Elijah Muhammad say it's not him, and the whole 10,000.
They got locked up together.
Right.
But they did the bait and switch because the new picture didn't come out until the 50s.
Right. Later on.
They got locked up together in the 30s.
That's right. Yeah. I just think he was trying to protect him when he said, no, that ain't him. That's anybody. Like you was locked up with him. Y'all shared, a relationship or whatever. And the feds come to you like, is that him? Nah, that ain't him. I don't know who that dude is. Okay.
Well, at this point, Wallace for a wife, his ex-wife.
Yeah.
They had contacted her,
right.
and she said, yeah, that's him. And then Elijah said, I give somebody $10,000. I think it was $10,000 to prove. And then when she stepped up, everybody went quiet.
That's it. Okay.
Everybody went quiet.
So based on that, we know that that's him then. So, okay.
Oh, man.
Right. Like, but why? I mean, like, what is the cover up? It don't make sense to me. It never did. Like, what is the secrecy and what is that? Like, it is what it is. It don't take away from nothing about the teaching.
But now it does though, because if you got the reason why, this is why I take away from the teachings. Because if one tell one lie, there's many more that we may have missed.
That's what Pop said.
If one lie is uncovered, then what other lies that we missed?
I think we kind of know all the lies, Sahaka. I think we kind of know the lies. Like,
which one? No, I'm talking about the teachings. I'm not talking about people's moral compass. I'm not talking about any messing with women. I'm talking about the teachings. I'm talking about the circumference of the planet and all that. Like, I like people fall in love with that and all that stuff.
No, those numbers were there back and like all the way back. Like Master Muhammad wasn't the first person to come up with those numbers. Like,
stop. Oh, sis, you can't do that. Sis, you messing up people's religion. Stop. Oh my God. Oh, I'm gonna take a drink.
You can look that up online. The numbers are pretty much the same. Like,
let me say this, sis. You amazing, because a brother got on Facebook one day, and this was about 2 months ago, and he got a nerve to say, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he did nothing that Master FARD Muhammad did. He didn't give you the circumference of the earth and the distance of this. And I say, brother, those numbers predate. Like anybody could have looked them up and then and gave them to you. Anybody could have looked them up. There wasn't like I was like, man.
You could put it in now. You could Google it and ChatGPT. It'll tell you all the numbers that are in the what we call the actual
because they predate.
Yeah.
They predate. They're very old. You got people in ancient Egypt that calculated this stuff long time ago, and the Greeks took it from them, and then they flipped it. It's documented, and so when people say that, it blows me away.
Well, because Amir calls it a coded haze. Okay, they don't understand that this has nothing to do with what we've been taught. Just like everything else in the world, everything else in the world is coded as well. You understand? FARD and Einstein? I don't think so. I think
I think that was made up too. And that's what I'm saying, though. But I can't wait to have my brother back on Melchesidek. He's going to give us some actual fact, because one thing about Melchesidek, people might get mad that he keep it so raw, but when he speak, he said you can ask him questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's very, as a matter of fact, and I think that's how you should go, based on what you think, you know what I mean, or what you believe, or whatever the case may be, and that's great. I'm just saying that this is not about like emotions for me. This is about, if the data and the evidence is there, then that's just what that is. Like, what are we fighting about? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
What you what I wanted to say, what you heard from the brother Melchesidek that you disagree with? Anything?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think I necessarily disagreed with him. I would just say I don't necessarily think that his study is on a certain level to make a proper assessment. I didn't disagree with him, though, because on one layer, yeah, that's true. On one layer. Okay, because I don't even know if the number of 16 was even given, but just my own personal knowledge, I knew that was a code too. I knew it all. I know that it's all a code now. I didn't know that then. And so I was never the person to be so, as a matter of fact, like in public about things that I really didn't know. I wanted to study it a little more. So when the brother was speaking, he was really talking about his work, to be honest. He wasn't necessarily talking about the actual teaching. He was talking about his work, like he soldiered with this person. He wasn't necessarily, and then he was just like reciting the lessons, but he wasn't really talking about the teaching.
Right, I got you.
You understand what I'm saying? So I didn't disagree with anything, because it's his own experience. So I can't disagree with anything like that.
Let me say this real quick before we get out of it. I really appreciate this conversation. Sis, like when you look at stuff like this, and we looked at this picture for years, especially as Moorish Americans, you know what I mean? We looked at pictures like this for years. When you look at a picture like this and it says Prophet WD FARD, and I know what that means. How did he originally went from prophet to God in the person? And listen, in this caption, it says Prophet WD FARD crowning lost found brothers of the Nation of Islam with their own freedom, justice, and equality. Now, when you look at the picture, it would imply that FARD Muhammad was there.
Right. I'm looking. Who's the person in front? Is that Elijah Muhammad? Who's standing in front?
Uh-huh. I'm guessing. You can't really see that.
Yeah, who are these people? Let's see.
But the whole point that I'm making is,
I don't know what that look like.
I'm not sure. But the whole thing I'm saying is, it's implying that he's crowned these people when we know that this picture have to be made later, because this picture is not in the 30s.
That looked like a put together picture to me. It don't look
it looked like a copy and paste.
Yeah, that's what that looked like.
But the implication in this caption is Prophet WD FARD crowning lost found brothers of Islam. It don't even say Nation of Islam, brothers of Islam,
right? With their own freedom.
Freedom, justice, and it probably saying equality. And so what I'm saying is, even the implications that it's like a misrepresent. Somebody say that's Khaled. Now he know history.
Okay.
He know history. Now let me ask 50 Mile. Who was the man that was supposed to succeed for Muhammad? Was it Elijah Muhammad or was it Khaled? Huh? Anybody know the real history? They know that it was Khaled.
Right. I heard that it was like a situation where this brother Khaled or whatever, he didn't I don't know. I heard somebody say something like he didn't want to, or something like that.
It was a fallout on that demonstration.
I'm sure it was.
And guess what? At 50 Mile, he know the history. And 50 Mile know the history. I don't know who 50 Mile is. I don't know who 50 Mile is, but he know the history. Okay. He didn't read the letters. Shout out to 50 Mile,
That's
man.
what's up.
Now we're gonna
No,
talk about that another day. We're gonna talk about that another
I
day.
think you should, because this is the information
I don't
that
know who Khaled is. I know the history front and back. And when,
yeah,
in fact, I was talking to somebody today and
I
I
heard that
mentioned
too.
Khaled. I said, you know, if you know the true history, Elijah Muhammad, I'm sorry to say to those who
Right.
believe it, he was not picked by Master Farad Muhammad. And he did not abandon his post. I got the whole history. I got the letters from Khaled.
Yeah, that's the story that I had, that he yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
Nah, they
that's what
supposed
I
to
heard.
say that. They
Yeah.
supposed to say that. They were got the beefing. And Khaled almost lost his life
What?
over that
Yeah.
position. But I'm gonna leave that right there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think again, these things need to be had, because the bottom line is we're here now. Okay, things happen.
Yeah, I think history is good, and I would hope that people, would not get upset about
They will. They will.
about telling the true history. But everything that I say, I can stand on with receipts.
Yeah, that's
Again, Farad Muhammad was writing letters to Elijah Muhammad telling him to stand down. Farad Muhammad was writing letters telling him that Khaled was the man.
Okay.
That's what it was.
It's not far from the conversation on how Farrakhan got to where he got. It's the same thing to me. Okay.
Yeah, I think history is good, but I think we look at history till we can make better decisions today.
Of
Like
course.
today, like would I tell my child, would I tell my child that we got some angry scientists sent us into the jungle to get some nappy hair? I wouldn't tell my child that.
Well, when you put it like that, no.
Would I tell my child the white man is the devil? Nah, I'm good on that. No, I'm good on that. I'm every time he see a European, he talking about that's the devil, daddy. Nah, I'm good on that.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't really tell children that, or people that think like that, without giving some more behind it. And
but I ain't got to give anything behind it. I say, listen, you got to be aware. You got to be aware and feel energy of who's around you at all times. You know, make somebody prove to you who they are. Don't let them tell you who they are. I don't care what they look like. Exactly. Allow them to prove it. And this is where we got to get into, because this color-coded thing is a fairly new thing. You know what I'm saying? At one time, we seen people for who they are and what they demonstrated. And we waited and we was patient to let them demonstrate the snake ways, and we get out the way. But now, we have no patience.
And I still think, and I'm gonna definitely say this, I still think the white man is the devil became a slogan from Malcolm more than anything.
Right, I got you. So King K say, I'm sure there are NRI members who don't tell their children things like that. They're smarter than that. How can you be smarter than the teachings of God in the person? What are you talking about?
And see, and we even need to decode that, because that's not what that means either. We're not talking about the heavens and the person, or
I didn't say that. I said God in the person.
All right. We're not talking about exactly God, though. You got to decode that.
No. Yes. I said like it is said, God in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. You can interpret it how you want to. I didn't say with the God of the universe.
No. I'm not saying for you. I'm just saying in general, when people, like you was repeating, like how people like, what? How could you say that when this came from God and a person?
I like Evelyn. Evelyn, you should have a conversation with me. If the white man isn't the devil, then the black man isn't God. I would love to have that conversation with you. I would love to have that conversation with you. You know what I mean? I would love to have that conversation with you. Let me tell you something. The devil and God is a state of existence.
It's literally,
and it can manifest in any being at any given time. If it is nurtured, the devil in a being is nurtured, or the God in a person is nurtured, that's who will appear.
But see, we even got to go further. What's devil and what's God? Like, you got to keep going. Like, we just stop at a certain place.
Oh, no. I'm saying this. I don't believe that every person will be able to unfold into their God mind.
I agree.
I don't believe that many Europeans will have the ability to unfold into their God mind for what is in their DNA and their experience on this planet for the last 10,000 years. And I'm gonna tell you, because you have to reverse. You have to reverse the karma. You know what I mean? Um, and listen, we've done some atrocious things too, but we don't reach that level of 10,000 years or better. See, most people talk about 400 years. Most people talk about the 400 years of slavery and all that. Man, listen, this thing has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah,
Long time.
it's been going
Long
on
time.
for
And
some
so at
time.
the end of the day, when Elijah talk about 6 ounces of brain and 7.5 ounces of brain,
Oh, that's what I didn't agree with him on when he said when the way I didn't agree with that. I
yeah,
didn't agree.
but the meaning of that is, the lack of melanin.
No.
The meaning of that is the lack of melanin, that needs to be produced and excrete in order to reach certain heights of spirituality. And but the thing about that is, you can have melanin and still be pale.
Well, we're talking about you
All
melanin.
melanin don't
We're
come to the
talking about
surface.
you melanin. It's you melanin, not just melanin by
Yeah.
itself. It's you melanin.
Well, you melanin, do melanin, and
Everybody
honeybee
got it.
melanin, and all that.
Everybody.
What I'm saying is, the level will give the indication of the spiritual connection outside of your physical being, the level of it. And so it's hard to judge. It's hard to judge. So you have to judge people by the content of their character and let them prove themselves to you. But because of history, some people got a history of perpetuating evil, perpetuating madness, perpetuate. I tell you what, we have. If you go into Asia, and they have taken on some cultural particulars, and they look at you half crazy, they would do you no different than what they would call the white man the devil.
But that's everywhere.
That's
It's
any.
people.
That's
It's
why I'm.
people.
That's why the point that I'm making. That's the point that I'm making. So at the end of the day, the thing is that European has a bigger track record than anybody else on the planet.
I
And that's
mean,
why people use that like that. But the
I
person that
feel
says
like
that,
everybody been working with everybody, and everybody been doing everything to everybody. That's
I get that. But when you go around the planet, you would have to agree that everywhere Europeans have stepped, they have dominated the society. Everywhere. If you go to China, there'll be some English letters there.
there's a
If you go to
few.
Saudi Arabia, there'll be English letters there. If you go to Russia, there'll be English letters somewhere. You know what I mean? Anywhere you go, you're gonna find some
I'm
English
not,
letters.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but like you said earlier, the people that were already there when they came had to submit at some point or working with them.
There we
And
go.
so, can we
There we
really
go.
put it all on?
That's why I don't go. That's why I don't go. That's why I don't go with the white man, the devil thing, in the sense of how NOI put it. Because guess what? There's a lot of Europeans that help us out. There's a lot of Europeans that
Oh,
help
there's a
our
lot of
ancestors.
Europeans that
You know
was
what I mean?
helping them out, and there's still Europeans helping them out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
I
always
think about my people trying to get out of slavery. That was a hard thing, and without those Europeans,
right.
it,
Or
it, it wouldn't be
anybody else for that
possible.
matter.
But it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been possible. It
No,
would not have been possible. You know what I'm
no.
saying? And that's just what it is. But that
How
don't
do
mean that don't
people think
mean that you should run and marry and
right,
all of that type of stuff. But you should
right.
treat people. You're supposed to treat people like you want to be treated, regardless of where they come from, who they are. And once they prove to you on a personal level that they are similar to those who have oppressed us, then you part ways. That's it. What's big
So
about that?
that's what I'm talking about as far as a certain understanding and a certain growth. So yes, that is the nature. That is the that was taught, that the white man is the devil, devil meaning the nature of that particular mankind, really. Because let's take this further. We're talking about, Elijah Muhammad always talked about mankind, the white man being mankind, like a kind of a man. So if you look at it like that, it makes sense that the nature would be of that, because mankind is not even human. So when you want to deal about something that appears to be, but not really, meaning they don't have the essence nor the soul, I could ride with that, because we see that now with artificial intelligence. We see that now with the rise of the machines. The artificial intelligence, AI, is soulless. So that could very well be the devil. So he didn't, the white man is not a man. The white man, according to the lessons, is mankind. A kind.
Oh, come on, Cat.
So saying that the white man is the devil, you can't forget the kind part, because that makes more sense. So, like, what are we really talking about right now?
But at the same time, even mankind comes from man.
No, mankind oh, you saying it like the birth of mankind. Yeah, the genetic splicing, really, but okay.
You can call it splicing, you can call it liking. If you use the term mankind, you can't separate that mankind is coming from man, according to the NOI.
Right. So as far as the germs you're talking about, the genetic splicing.
Man, listen.
Yeah, I agree.
It's still coming from man.
From us. It's in the original man, because it can't be kind of a man if it doesn't come from the original. That is true. But when you learn, when you go into the rest of the teachings, what does the rest of the teachings talk about? It talks about self-accountability. And that's the part that people don't never want to talk about today. The teachings is more than the white man is the devil. It's way more than that.
But that's the most exotic. That's the most exotic part of the teachings.
That's what black folks like. We like that kind. We like sensationalism. We like all the fluffiness.
But he wrote it though. What do you mean? He wrote it.
He wrote that and more, Tahaka. That's not the only thing he wrote.
But the thing is, you know that people, what other complex teachings should one want to dig into? Name it. That's a complex theory. That's a complex concept.
That's what it was supposed to do, to be honest.
Do for self is not a complex concept.
It was supposed to shake up the world, which it did. It did serve its purpose. And it has people still shaking in their boots to the very day, which that's what it was supposed to do.
What I'm saying is the reason why it's talked more so than other parts of the teachings, because it's a complex concept where we are in a world where we intermingle with Europeans every day, where we're in Walmart with Europeans, where we even back then.
And that's the point. I'm saying
it's a complex concept. Whereas you said you got the white man, the devil, but then you got an image of a guy that looked like a quote unquote white man. It's a complex concept. So of course people are going to talk about that more so than do for self. Do for self is not a complex concept, even though it seems like we don't do it.
Look at it. Look at what you just said. You have the white man is the devil, and then you have an image of a white man. That makes people say, hold on.
That's why the conversation is always going to be in the forefront.
Right. So, and that's a good thing. That's not a negative thing, how people portray it to be. People make it as if we don't want to talk about that. No, don't talk about that. And they got their own reasons, but that's what it's supposed to do. A contradiction is supposed to be looked into more, and that makes people want to look into more. That's what made me want to look into more, because I'm like, hold on, this don't match. So I started going further.
Well, in the Moorish Science Temple of America, this just makes sense to me. If man want to find his devil, he must look within. His name is self. If man want to find his God, his Savior, he also must look within. His name is self. One of the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is when you're talking about accountability, if you want to look for the devil, look into yourself. If you want to look for God, looking for yourself, because the devil would shake hands with the devil and make deals with the devil to keep us in perpetual slavery. And so you will have to correct yourself not to make those dumb deals. Do you know what I'm saying? So that to me is the ultimate accountability.
That is the teaching, but people don't know the teaching like that. That is the teaching.
But the other teaching is the skunk of the planet Earth. That's the other teachings. It's illustrated. The skunk of a planet Earth. He can never turn around. He's always going to be the devil. That's the teachings too.
Okay, let me say this. Let me say this to you. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. I'm trying to bring a different perspective on my journey. Okay.
No. What I'm looking at the teachers. When we look at the teachers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, of course, we talk about the devil within, but we can't negate the fact that the devil is the European, according to those teachings. The devil can never turn around. The devil would never turn around. And if he decides to, you can put a crown on his head with a sword on it. Just to remind him that if he does go, he's going to get his head chopped off. That's the teachings.
Okay, so listen, that is the teaching. You just said the devil is an original man. So wouldn't all that apply to you too?
No. From the Moorish Science Temple. Now, in the Nation of Islam perspective, yes. But in the Moorish Science Temple.
I'm telling you that don't you got to kill the devil within as well? Don't you have to do that too?
Nah, in the Moorish Science Temple of America, the devil is illusion. It's not even real. It's a figment of our imagination. It's not even real. In the Moorish Science Temple of America, the philosophy is the devil is an illusion, and it's a figment of your imagination, and the vibrations of your lower vibrations, whether it's your physical that gives you urges, whether it's your soul that pulls you in a certain way because of what you put into it. Because of what you put in it, there is no such thing as a devil. This devil is a myth. We make it up as we go along.
That's in the teaching. What you just said.
The white man, the blue-eyed devil is the teacher. The blue-eyed devil. The blue-eyed devil.
What did I say to Harker? Esoteric is exoteric. You got to have both. It's layers.
Y'all ain't going to hijack the Moorish Science Temple of America teachers on my post.
I ain't representing them. I'm talking about me.
That's what it is. Nah, you won't.
He done cut himself off.
I got excited. I messed up.
Come back.
This. I really.
Okay.
So he's 85. Come on in real quick. Let's look. Somebody say 85. Come on in.
Who's 85?
I don't know. I think he said. I think he wanted Ice God said so. He's 85. I want to see who Ice God.
Who is he?
He said I'm 85. Come on up here. Come on up here and see what you got. Let's see. He talk about me. Come on here and see what you got. What makes me 85? Because I tell you the truth. What makes I 85? Because I want to make you take responsibility and stop blaming the white man. Stop blaming the European. Because the European could not come into the interior of Africa or on the shores of Africa without the participation of our people. What are you talking about?
That part.
What are you talking about? Talking about 85. You the 85. The 85 is the one that's going to keep the truth of the God of man in himself and the devil illusion of man himself. You the type that's going to do that. You the type will do that. I'm going to tell you straight up. You got to take responsibility for yourself. That mean? Yeah, I'm gonna tell you that's more science teaching. More science teaching. We don't blame. We don't play the blame game. We don't play the blame game. We say, you know what I mean? If you're looking for a savior, his name is self.
That's it. Self. Well, here's the thing, Talaka. If that's not the teaching, then why is it do for self? Then it like
no. That is a part of that's a variable of the teachings. That's a variable of the teachings of the Nation of Islam. The other variable is the white man, the blue-eyed devil, the pale-skinned skunk of the planet Earth. That's the other teachings. We can't let that go now. He taught that.
That is true.
So you can't deny that.
Listen, he taught that. That is true. Why are you stopped? Why are you putting a period there?
It's because I don't want to say, okay, it's about do for self, and that's what it's all about. No. We're talking about the philosophy, and I'm
That's
saying
in
that the
the that's
philosophy.
that's in the lessons. Listen,
That's the lesson. That's the philosophy.
listen. My point is there are many things in the lesson. I'm talking about in its totality.
Hey, look, this person. Yeah, I got you. But King K say, is that what this is about? To show Moorish science is superior
He's
than
not trying
NOI?
to do that.
No, the show is about. We're just talking right now. The show was about, is FARD Muhammad a European? And sister was breaking down the esoteric reading. We just chopping it up now. You know what's funny to me, Sis Jamilla, before I go? If we were sitting on a corner rolling dice and drinking beer and smoking blunts and chopping it up, we could say anything we want. But the moment that we sit up here and we build it and we have disagreements and we saying that I like this or I see it like this, I see it like this, the first thing we got to say, oh, so you saying that this is better than that? And we was rolling blunts talking about, oh, look at little mama walking past. Everything be all good. But now me and you sitting up here and people are entertained or people are disgruntled or they are cultish about your opinion or my opinion. Now there's, oh, you're here to say more science is better than what? No, let me tell you what's better than anything. Take responsibility of your life and do what's right. That's it. Do right because it's right. Whether before there was a Moorish Science Temple of America put into the codified by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, or before there was a codification of the Nation of Islam teachings. Listen, we knew what was right by nature. We studied nature and we did what was right. And what you're saying is not consistent with how nature and the harmonic vibration of nature is. If it ain't lining up with that, you out of order anyway. Period.
And so let me just say this, and that is the last thing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in his last interview. He said that after him comes God, meaning there's going to be no organizations, no temples, and nothing. You're responsible for yourself. That's what he meant. And it's full circle. That's what that is.
And Ken K say, don't be so sensitive. No, what I'm telling you is that it's holes in the teachings of the NOI. I stand on that. And you may say it's holes in the teachings of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And I'm saying, come on the show and stand on it.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And we can be brothers at the end, and we can agree or disagree, and we just move forward. But the ultimate goal isn't the ultimate goal is to get us the truth. And how do you get the truth without going opposition with one another with different philosophies, theologies, or theories? Like, how to be some opposition in order to unfold and to say, okay, this make more sense.
You know, I would love to go into more of Fitra with you at some point, Tarka, because Noble Drew Ali is one of those chefs. And it's not just a lot, it's a whole bunch of people, you know, and Noble Drew Ali, actually, Amir, if you look on his website, he did an article on Noble Drew Ali. And we got to stop doing this division thing. You know, we got to put it all together because that's what makes sense. You know, it's too divided.
But sis, we gotta separate truth from falsehood.
I agree.
If Prophet Noble, if I can find a falsehood in Prophet Noble Drew Ali's teachings, I must accept it, acknowledge it. I'm not going to try to cover up. Ken K say Noble Drew Ali principles of integration, find the things more science, and no. There's not a principle of integration. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, we are a pure and clean nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa. But because we are in America, and because, as they like to say, we built America, then we also have a stake in this. So we can be in this world, but not of this world. We can benefit from some of the principles as taught in this society, even though they don't go by these principles. But we can keep it moving. We're in the world, but not of the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to, like, for example, in the divine constitution of the Moorish Science Temple of America, it tells us that you are part and partial of this said government, which you are, because you are born here, whether you like it or not. Unless you expatriate, you are a citizen of the United States, whether you like it or not.
It says that in the NOI Constitution too. It's just said differently.
Let me finish. Where the NOI Constitution? No, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he's a citizen of Islam, not a citizen of the United States. In the message to the black man, he says that. He says he's a citizen of Islam.
That we follow the laws of the land. So
but he says he's a citizen of Islam, not of the United States. But let me finish what I've got to say. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, we are part and partial of this said government, and we must obey hereby. We obey the things of this government by the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, not the other way around. Not the other way around. So when you subscribe to righteousness, can't nothing go wrong. That's all you got to do. Subscribe to righteousness, can't nothing go wrong. And so that is to obey hereby. You see what I'm saying? He didn't say obey. Like he didn't say you obey the government. You obey the government. No, you obey hereby. Because Prophet Noble Drew Ali's teaches is to unfold the righteousness. So if you are following righteousness, what can go wrong?
That's it. I know the teachings to be what you just said, Tahaka. So I don't know what everybody else is doing, but I know the teaching is what you're saying. Literally, is what you're saying.
My big brother Thurman Smart said Noble Drew Ali is number 2 in my book. But my thing is this. I love when people say that, because I want people to come on the show and stand on it, because I'm going to show and prove emphatically. Let me show you something. I'd love to pull this out sometime.
Well, what does that mean? What's number 2? What does that mean?
I don't know what that means, but let me show you something. Before the NOI, before NOI came up with its own full lessons of philosophies, they was using the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Why? Because they come out of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's movement. Mukmug, 6026 South Vernon Avenue, Prophet of Allah, Temple of Islam. Temple of Islam came from, the Temple of Islam is not a new creation. The Temple of Islam is something that came out of the words of Prophet Noble Drew Ali's mouth. There was a euphemism that they called the Moorish Science Temple of America back in the day, and they used the term Temple of Islam, and I'm going to show it to you in a minute. They called the Moorish Science Temple of America Allah's temple, if you will, if I can find this letter. But the whole point that I'm making is that the Nation of Islam didn't have a full doctrine until till the 50s. They didn't have a full doctrine. They was using the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. What are you talking about? They was using the questionnaire. They didn't have a full scope of teachings.
Right. That's how.
So when someone say he was number 2. When someone say he was number 2, you got to tell me what that means. He said, "Oh, okay, I don't care who was first. I'm talking about what makes sense." He said, "Okay, Noble Drew Ali was first. Cool. So NOI and MST must have common teachers. Why not talk about that?" Absolutely, Ken K. That's all I'm saying. Let's talk about it and work out the variables. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we all got the same oppressor on our neck, whether you are NOI or not.
The point. But you see how we get caught up in, again, the program of the division. Like, regardless, it's all one. That's what I'm talking about with Fitra. It's all one. It's we know that the world is fragmented. We see that.
No. I did. Let me say this, lest you not. I didn't say they was using it in the 1950s, family. I said in the 30s and throughout the 40s they was using. When they took the fezes off, completely. I mean, John Muhammad still was wearing his fez. John Muhammad, he was rocking his demonstration all the way up in the 60s. You know what I mean? But when most of them took their fezes off, and after Elijah Muhammad got out of prison, the message to the black man became the standard. That became the standard. How to Eat the Lid became the standard.
What do you mean Message to the Black Man became the standard? Like, what is that?
That became the book of the prized possession of the Nation of Islam members. When I was coming up, if you didn't have the Message to the Black Man, you might as well don't even say you are a member of the Nation of Islam.
As opposed to the Supreme Wisdom, that's what you're saying. Opposed
to it was Message to the Black Man. That was the book. That was the book. Nobody walked around with Supreme Wisdom. Nobody. They knew him, but the Message to the Black Man was the reference book of the NOI. That was the reference book.
No.
And
who made that the reference book though?
No, that's just how it was.
Well,
it was after it was written.
You have to think about it. The Message to the Black Man was the lectures from the 30s and the 40s. Okay.
Let me say this. The Supreme Wisdom is a compilation. Where is the original Supreme Wisdom?
I have a nice one right here.
Do you have the original?
I mean, I don't know what the date is.
No, don't nobody have no original. It's a compilation of lessons.
Yeah, right. That's
it's compilations.
Okay.
No one had the original Supreme Wisdom from maybe John Muhammad. No one have original copy of the Supreme Wisdom from Master Farad Muhammad. Nobody.
No one. Of course not. Why would anyone have that?
So this is why would anyone have it? Because if it came from God in the person, where is the original?
Tahaka, really? What happened where all that stuff would go? It's the same thing as the original scriptures.
Listen, what I'm saying is when you look at the Supreme Wisdom, it's a compilation. People saying that it's a standard, but it's a compilation. It's a compilation. It's not like so when you look at the Bible, for example, listen. When you look at the Bible, for example, that is the standard of Christianity, if you will.
But there's many Bibles.
It's still the standard. It's still the standard.
It's a compilation too, but it's also a compilation.
That's right, but it's the standard. The standard. When you look at the Supreme Wisdom is nothing more than a compilation and a variable of the Moorish Science Temple of America questionnaire. That's it.
Great.
But when you look at the doctrine, the story of you get to understand the story of Shabazz.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get the story at? The full story. Message to the Black Man.
Mm-hmm.
You get the full story.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I mean. It became the standard because the full story of anything you wanted to know was in the Message of the Black Man.
Okay.
Everything else was a Q&A.
Okay.
It was a Q&A. But the full scope of the Nation of Islam, the philosophy, the history, and everything you needed to know was in Message to the Black Man.
And I'm telling you, I don't agree with that. I'm saying when I came into the nation in the 90s.
No, I'm not doubting your experience. Like he said, not all Q&A. It was statements in that too. Exactly. I get what you're saying. It spoke about the tribe of Shabazz, but the full blown stories was the Nation of the Black Man.
Message to the Black Man. But because it's a book. So of course, when you package a book, you go more into depth.
That's why I said it was the standard. You'd rather prove my point.
Right. I'm not saying that it was the standard or it wasn't the standard. I'm saying
no, I don't think nobody made it the standard. Let me clarify. I didn't say nobody made it the standard.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what I was asking.
It by default came the standard because it explained many things in greater detail. Let me say it that way. So, nobody made it the standard.
Right. So I'm asking you, are you saying it was the standard?
No,
no one made the standard.
No one made it the standard. But when I was around in and I can only speak for me in 1990, if you didn't know the details of them stories and you was just quoting Q&As and a couple sentences statements, you was unqualified to speak about the Nation of Islam.
So the streets made it a standard.
No, everywhere. All FOI knew what was in that book. All FOI knew was in there. They know streets. These brother was active. And here in Baltimore, they had corralled in these projects. You know what I mean? Clarence 13X made the supreme wisdom popular in the streets.
Popularized it, yes.
But what I'm saying, in the organized fashion of the NOI, they knew that. They knew that message to the black man front to back.
Okay, so let me go here. Because I hear the division. Okay, so we have message to the black man for the NOI, and then we have the supreme wisdom.
No, there's no division because the supreme wisdom was still being taught. FOI and student ministers were still teaching that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you get amongst the crowds of NOI and you had builds, they went up into that joint heavy. And somebody said it was published in 1970. That's right. And guess what? I joined the More Science Temple of America 1990. And in that time, that was the standard by default. Not that somebody made it the standard, but that was it. That was it. If you didn't know that book, you wouldn't qualify to speak.
Well, it is true that when you come,
but that doesn't mean they wasn't teaching. They were still. I mean, come on. I wasn't in their classes, but people still was getting supreme. People were still getting supreme wisdom.
I'm about to tell you how it went because I was there. I was in the class. So how it went was when you first come in to the nation. When I came in the 90s. In orientation, you were given a list of books to purchase, and Supreme Wisdom obviously was one of those books, but it was never like one was over the other. At a certain point, I think the Supreme Wisdom was packaged like differently or something like that, and so we didn't get the Supreme Wisdom till later. But even in our orientation guide, actually, in order to get your X, you had to recite the lessons and the supreme wisdom, the actual facts, and then the questions and answers. That's what you needed to recite in order to get you.
Absolutely. So absolutely, I agree with you. I agree with all that. But what I'm telling you, the
message to the black man wasn't considered a standard in the Nation of Islam, like you're saying it. It wasn't, because you had to recite the lessons. Hold on, you had to recite the lessons and the supreme wisdom in order to get your X. If the message to the black man,
this is not what I'm talking about. We're saying apples and oranges. What I'm telling you is that when those were speaking or even teaching in public, their standard was drawn from the message to the black man. More than the Bible at the time and more than the Quran, it was coming out the message to the black man in the early 90s.
And
whenever
I'm saying,
they spoke.
Right.
And that much of what Malcolm spoke about, will ultimately be put in the message to the black man.
Right. So I'm saying that the message to the black man was a compilation of the Supreme Wisdom, because Supreme Wisdom was the first book. That's what they used.
This is what I'm saying. I'm not this. I think you confusing organization and with the standard in which people were teaching from. People were teaching in the streets was coming from that message to the black man. They wasn't talking to nobody about, and then guess what they would do? They would mix in and say, yeah, because the earth is 360. Dr. Collins used to do it all the time. He'll start to throw in the mathematics. He'll say 46,000 miles and 96 million miles, and then he'll draw from the message to the black man, and then he'll draw with things going on in society. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that there was a curriculum of the message to the black man. I think you're misunderstanding me. That's not what I'm saying. Public speakers that were speaking in public, they was drawing from the message to the black man. Look. The Born King said some of the chapters of Message to the Black Man came absolutely.
So the Supreme Wisdom was the first book of the NOI. That's what I'm trying to explain. The message to the black man.
When was it published?
That the Supreme Wisdom was the book that, and back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s was the conversation from the lessons. That's all we knew until he came up with the Message to the Black Man and repackaged it.
So exactly. So what I'm telling you is that when I was coming up, that was the standard. People was not.
Because you can't get the Supreme Wisdom without getting your.
I think you're mixing up. I think you're mixing up the organization and what was taught in public. I think you're mixing up. People wasn't in public. People wasn't in public teaching supreme wisdom unless they was 5% nation.
Okay. Yes.
That was it.
I think you're misunderstanding me. The reason
I understand what you're saying. You're making a point that in the organization of the Nation of Islam, y'all was taught supreme wisdom. I'm telling you that in the public, the stories was drawn, Yaqub's story, that was drawn out the Message to the Black Man. That was drawn, and it's in Supreme Wisdom, but it was drawn from the Message of the Black Man from a public perspective.
Right, so what I'm saying.
From How to Eat to Live.
Never
it was drawn from How to Eat to Live. They was drawn from The Fall of America. But the Message of the Black Man was the main book that they was drawn from in the public. That's what I'm saying. You ain't never seen nobody in the public running around with questions and answers teaching people supreme wisdom in the public.
And I'm saying
they were 5%ers.
What I'm saying is the reason why you didn't see people in the NOI with the supreme wisdom is because you couldn't get it until a certain point. That's what I'm saying to you. So Message to the Black Man was the obvious package because the book.
I said what I said. I said it was. I didn't say they made it a standard, but it was standard taught. It was standardly taught. There wasn't nobody out in the public running around supreme wisdom unless they were 5% Nation of Islam, gods and earth. That's it. I'm speaking public.
And
I'm not speaking inside the mosque, inside the temple, inside the Muhammad Mosque. I'm not speaking inside. I'm talking about publicly. Those lessons was unfolded in the Message to the Black Man. And when you talk about Yaqub, it was unfolded in the Message of the Black Man. When you talk about the planets splitting apart, all of these lessons.
Because Message to the Black Man was the first published book for the NOI, correct?
No. I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one, but I can tell you that after he came out of jail, a bunch of them was published. You know what I mean? You got the Message to the Black Man, you got the Fall of America, you got How to Eat to Live,
1 and 2, yeah.
And you got
that's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
It was I'm telling you, there was a package. Exactly. Those were your starter. It was like a starter kit, basically. And then you got the Supreme Wisdom later.
He says you couldn't take the Supreme Wisdom out of the temple in those days.
Right.
But listen what I'm saying. I'm speaking from a public perspective. That it was. I'm not speaking from. I was never a member of the Nation of Islam, so I can't speak from the perspective of inside of the mosque, inside the temple. In the public, they were teaching from the Message to the Black Man, and they was intermingling supreme wisdom. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just giving you the reason why you're saying what you're saying. It's just like the brother said, you wasn't supposed to take it out like that. You know what I'm saying?
That ain't even the point that I'm trying to illustrate. The point I'm trying to illustrate is that my original point was the NOI didn't have a standard back in 1930. They were teaching from the lessons of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And from the lessons of the Moorish Science Temple of America, they would develop the supreme wisdom. I got you. They would develop. Let me give you an example. This is a newspaper article if you haven't seen it yet. This is what they was teaching from. Muck 632. Now let me go. We know who Muck is. He says, God bless. Let me see. Speakers asserted that Muhammad killed 6 million Christians and put 90,000 whiteheads on a pole. The Nation of Islam has 30,000 trained soldiers who will kill. Now we know that ain't true, but hey, who will follow Japan? But listen to this. Typical propaganda are these extracts from specially written Quran furnished to members. Who were Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslims. Who is God in the holy city? You know, this is the questionnaire of the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Right.
What is the modern name of these angels? Asiatics.
Mm.
Are the Moorish Americans in relation to these angels? Yes, we all had the same father and mother. The Asiatic nations of the New World were described by Muck as Moorish Americans. This is the point that I was making in the beginning, that the NOI did not have a doctrine back then. And the supreme wisdom was, okay, we're going to throw this aside and now we're going to produce our own. That's how the supreme wisdom came about.
I was trying to figure out, like, I'm saying, okay, I see what you're saying. Because
the beginning of the conversation, we was talking about that they didn't have a doctrine of their own. That's how this started.
Right.
And then it was developed. And then in the 90s, the main standard in public was being taught from the Message to the Black Man. That's what I was saying.
So your position is that they stole the Moorish American lessons and repackaged it? Is that what you're saying?
No. My position is that they used the Moorish Science Temple of America lessons and then they put them aside and developed what you will have as a supreme mathematics or supreme wisdom.
Right, and I'm trying to understand, why are you saying they put them aside? Because even in the supreme wisdom, it's still talking about like Muslims. It's still using Moorish science language. So why did you say put it aside? I don't understand.
Because they don't line up. It's totally different. It's totally different. They don't match up. It's totally different. It's totally. I mean, if somebody is both to see me, I can show. It's totally different. It's totally different. Listen, let me show you something. Let me give you an example. Before I go. It's totally different. And it's not, I don't want to browbeat anybody in NOI because I got many brothers and family in NOI. I don't want to browbeat you. So when you look at the Nation of Islam flag, the flag is red with a white crescent facing one way. The Moorish Science Temple of America has a white flag, a religious flag, with the crescent face the other way, but the crescent is red.
Okay, so it's inverted, basically.
Yeah, the Nation of Islam inverted it.
Okay.
The Moorish Science Temple of America wore the fez. We still wear the fez.
Do we know why?
What?
Do we know why was it inverted?
It's a remix. What do you mean?
Why
was inverted?
That's my point. Why was it remixed?
The Moorish Science Temple of America was infiltrated.
Okay.
That's a whole nother conversation. But what I'm saying is, listen, there is no place in America that was calling a place for Muslims or Muslims to worship a temple before the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Yeah.
And then you get a lost Temple of Islam.
Right.
What you mean, why? Obviously, something is happening. So you got the flag that is flipped, inverted, as you said. Yeah. Then you got the fez. They put the star and the crescent on it.
Right.
You got the Moorish Science Temple. And then you got a lost temple.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Has the Honorable Elijah Muhammad ever did not acknowledge the Moorish Science Temple? Did he ever not acknowledge the Moorish Science Temple?
Well, what the honor would see, this a whole never, don't nobody want to have this conversation. I gotta go.
I do.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Prophet Noble Drew Ali did not know enough about Islam to teach it, and all of his followers should leave Prophet Noble Drew Ali and join him. That's what he said about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You understand what I'm saying? So and then you begin to see things. Then you begin to see things like this appear. All right. Then you begin to see things like this appear. Give me a second, real quick. So and this wasn't to come for the Nation of Islam, but we're gonna talk about it tonight. What did that look like right there?
Wait, I can't see it yet. It didn't come up yet.
You can't see it? Yeah.
Muhammad.
It's on the screen.
The
thumbnail sketch of Muhammad. You see that?
Yeah, Muhammad Temple of Islam. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, hold on. Give me a second. Hold up.
Yeah.
Hold up 1 second. I'm trying to grab something for you real quick. All right. Let me stop this real quick and let me show you. Did this look familiar?
Oh, hold on. Let me see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's totally it. Yeah. Okay.
There is nothing original. There is nothing original in the original Nation of Islam doctrine. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Look,
yep.
NOI.
Point proven. So is it a problem? Like
No. What I'm saying is, if someone's going to ask me a question, I'm going to give you a emphatic answer.
I mean, it's the same thing.
The whole thing is like this person says, the NOI flag is a reverse Turkish flag. Family. Let me tell you the lessons from that, family. Let me tell you the lessons. I can even give you the lessons why you would say that. You know what I mean? But that's a whole nother conversation. No,
I'm just trying to figure out what the beef is with all that.
There is no beef. We're just trying to get to the truth. So if the truth has been covered up, if the truth has been manipulated and thrown to the side, then we can run around circles. You follow what I'm saying? We can run around circles forever. Listen. The point is that our people need to get to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Our people need to get to the truth.
And now, what's the truth?
The truth is that there is a pathway up out of this oppression, and we have to be regimented and get into what it is to walk our way up out of it. And when somebody gives us smoke and mirrors, whoever they may be, wherever they may be, then we have to call out the smoke and mirrors.
That's it. Nothing wrong with that, because part of the and then we could go back to the restrictive law. You know what I mean? Regardless of the circumstances, don't lie regardless of the circumstances.
And let me say this, family. I want to challenge anybody who wish to debate me like this guy right here. Yes, MSTFA is a storefront organization. It was meant to be launching board booster for what Master for Mom. See, I say meet me live and debate me on it. Meet me live and debate me on it. Jesus had a donkey riding organization. What you talking about? Muhammad had a camel riding organization. What you talking about? I say meet me live.
This is a bunch of ego stuff going on right now, and I'm not even on that.
I like ego, but what you were saying, sis.
I'm just saying the bottom line is, the show was about, is he Caucasian, Master Muhammad, and my answer is yes.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Brent James said, "Let us speak." Brent James, she just spoke. Oh my God! Oh my God! Well, anyway,
right. And I'm saying yes, based on everything that we already talked about. Now, anything else behind that, people don't want to say, or whatever the case may be, that's not my position. My position is more on another level. I'm more on the esoteric part. So whatever, he was Caucasian, Black, whatever. Okay. But what else we want to talk about?
Hey, listen, fam. Let me say, family. Master Farah Muhammad, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and Elijah Muhammad has transitioned, and we are here. So it's all right to have these conversations, but it's not all right to get ignorant, hate each other, disrespect each other, family. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. And I'm happy to have my sister to join me to have this conversation. Every time she comes, she brings something dynamic. Our next show we're going to do is about this cult leader that we've been relaxing, parlaying on, and we're going to chop that up. And oh, Jess, since you called up the bet, good and well you coming on this show when we talk about this cult leader.
Oh no!
He done changed his name.
Oh
he
he
hiding again.
We calling him out, GS. We calling him out again.
Sis, this stream been seamless tonight. But anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Well, okay. So I just want to say, I hope that I was able to explain at least a little bit of the esoteric part of the teachings or the origin of the teaching. And I just think that we just need to get away from the division and just come together on everything, to be honest, because we have more in common than we don't. And I think that's what really matters.
Indeed. I appreciate you, sis. I'll see you next go around. All right. All right. Peace and love. So I want to answer this last question. If he was Caucasian, he wouldn't be able to join Noble Drew Ali movement, correct? Yeah. Now you can't join the Moorish Science Temple of America if you're a European. You can't. You're welcome. The temple is a public place. Anybody can come in, but it's a membership organization. In the Divine Constitution and bylaws, it reads that we are uplifting our people and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. You know what I'm saying? So it's a membership organization to uplift our people. So Europeans could not be members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, but Moorish, they can come to the temple. It's a public place. Actually, I mean, they could come in the temple whatever they want, you know. In fact, I did a lecture, a friend of mine, European, watched the show of European persuasion. She support the endeavors and all of that. But why would she want to be a member? She has a nationality. I have people from different parts of the country that like Moorish World TV and they like the teachers of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and hey, they watch it every week on Friday when I go live on Facebook, but they have no reason to join the Moorish Science Temple of America. We're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. Like, that's the mission. We're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. But we got friends everywhere. We like Garth Brooks. I got friends in low places where the whiskey drown and the beer chases my blues away. I'm just playing. I don't drink, but but we got friends in all walks of life. That's right, family. But with that being said, family, I appreciate y'all. I like when it get a little bit heated. So I'm like Kryptonomics. It's time to go to bed. We done went too long tonight. But anyway, family, for the Moorish Americans, happy Holy Day. And for all of the Moorish World TV citizens, I will see you Saturday. I really appreciate you. Sis says that Master Fard Muhammad is a European. Hey, Crip. Hey, Crip. Sis say you're European, man. Oh, come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. Come on, cat. I got to take another drink of water on that. I ain't posted that, Crip. Peace and love, family. Peace and love.